So we all know what it's like. We're sitting there, we're listening to someone. They might be producing good content and talking to us about potentially some really great avenues that we can learn from and grow from, but we just walk away, we walk out feeling like we're just a little bit dumber for the experience. Hey, welcome to the world of presenting with PowerPoint. And those of you that want to use PowerPoint to present are actually not enabling your clients or your team, etc., to actually be able to learn and grow. And I'm going to explore this and explain this to you right now so that you can make sure everything you do is really powerful, really educational, and really empowering. Let's get stuck in right now. Okay team, so let's be completely honest about it. We've all sat there in university lectures. That was probably the first time we really got hammered by death by PowerPoint, right? And we just see loads and loads of words on the screen. We see all this, slide after slide after slide. And the fact is this, guys, you don't learn from that environment, okay? Science has proved it multiple times over and over. And the facts actually show that 92% of your learning ability and your brain's ability to learn actually comes through visual stimulus. All right, I know that we all have different learning styles. I'm not debating that. What we're saying is, and what we do know, is that 92% of your learning capability comes through visual stimulus. So is it right to have mediums where you can look at things? Absolutely. Hey, I'm actually going to be having this podcast on YouTube as well, like I do with all of my podcasts. So if you do want to do that, you're actually going to learn more. A lot of the time we have little B-roll parts cut in as well. There's extra parts in there to highlight. It's not just my, do I say ugly or good looking face? You can decide. Deciding whether you're going to see my good looking or ugly face, it doesn't really matter. But the fact of the matter is we have extra stimulus in there, visual representations, models, and different parts of these podcasts so that you can learn more and take away more knowledge and power, which means the podcast is actually more valuable to you. So using that same concept, we know that 92% of your learning capability comes from visual stimuli. So that's why models are so important. That's why templates are so important. That's why when we teach, when I teach, we don't have death by PowerPoint. Because here's the thing. Anyone can go to school, anyone can go to uni and see a whole lot of slides, a whole lot of words, learn textbooks, learn. When they ask this, say that. When this happens, say that. But that's not how we live life. That's not what is best to be doing running a business. That's not what's best if you are an allied health provider. You can't just spew out different thoughts, and the academic world aren't usually the best people to be working in private practice with most people in a normal clinical-based environment. Why? Great with facts and figures, but they don't have the rapport and the relationship there. Now, I'm not going to criticize the academics. That's not what I'm doing here. But we do know that you need to be a people person, and there's a hell of a lot more skill set and a lot more value in our industry by having that skill set and not just being able to regurgitate all of the stuff like a textbook like we do in the academic world. So here's the thing. Let's not bring the academic world of death by PowerPoint and loads of facts and figures and numbers and words and blah, blah, blah into our health business. If you are in a situation where you're educating your team, doing a professional development session, maybe you're working externally with other providers, that's fantastic, right? Maybe you're actually talking to primary health networks, maybe you're talking to support groups, maybe you're talking to sporting clubs, the corporate world. It's great to have visual stimulus. I'm absolutely supportive of that. But what I don't feel is the best is by making a death by PowerPoint scenario. The best way to be able to do this is from pictures and models. So a great example of this, and I know this might sound like I'm tooting my own horn, but I'm not. I'm just saying I've understood this, I've learnt this, and over the last probably 2 years, my complete presentation style has had to change as well. It's not about a slide on a board in front of you or being beamed up from the data projector showing 2 or 3 dot points, because we know that we hate lots of words. And if you go back to the early noughties, people were saying, oh, you've got to have less than 60 words on a slide. And then it became less than 30 words on a slide. Well, here's the thing, guys. The best way to actually present these days is not using any words at all. Because if they're going to learn, if the people that you're teaching, whether it's a sporting group, corporate company, maybe it's your own team, maybe it's people in the industry, people don't learn by reading words. People learn by having association with visual stimulus, okay? So think about it this way. Think about how many times we do it with clients now, all right, in a session. We don't sit there and write out word by word what we need to do. And we don't put down dot points as to what's the best way to approach this. It's why the rise of, people go, technology and things like that. Well, it's not actually the technology side. It's just the fact that companies like Simple Set and PhysiTrack, etc., understand that people learn better and can better apply and be accountable by visual stimulus. In other words, give them an app that they can see the exercise being done. Give them an avenue to actually have something printed out so they at least have a visual of a start and finish of that exercise. Yes, there might be a few words of how many sets, how many reps, but the best part about this is that you're not relying on words. You're not doing 4 or 5 dot points, stand here, pull your shoulders back, keep your arms straight, lock this in, do that, stand on one leg and bark like a dog. And that was from, what was that? That was a Coming to America movie, wasn't it, with Eddie Murphy many years ago now. Stand on your one leg and bark like a dog. Back on point, we want to make sure that we are in a situation where we have less words, in fact, no words is great, and we use visual stimuli. Rewind back to what I was talking about before in regards to presentation style. 2 years ago, I made some big changes. A lot of the guys that I hang around with do this worldwide with some amazing people, some of the biggest businesses in the world, and that's what they've learned, and I've been able to learn from them, and I'm very grateful for that. So if I look back even 3 or 4 years, I look at my conferences I'd run 3 years ago, and I'm horrified. Like, I'm literally horrified. I look at it and go, yuck. There's PowerPoint slides there with horrible, just a quick sentence or a phrase or something's put in italics to try and emphasize a point, or it's word art and stick figure type pictures, and it's just horrible, right? I cringe at that stuff. But we all live and learn, and we all get ourselves better, and that's what I've done. Whew, scary days. What I do now is what all of the best people do at educating and empowering. We can actually get up on stage, and you think about this. Tony Robbins does it, Robert Kiyosaki. If you go back to some of the past greats that they learnt from, guys like Keith Cunningham, guys like Steve Covey, Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar, they were the forefathers of doing this, all right? Even some of the newer guys like your Robert Sharmas, etc., they do it as well. And what they are able to do is they're able to stand up with 2 or 3 people in a small group, in a boardroom type group, a small team, stand up in front of thousands of people and present without having anything more than a couple of visual stimuli. And what I mean by that is they will present, and this is what I do now as well, where you present off models and pictures. A picture goes up and they're able to talk to the picture. Because what we know is best for your brain to learn is you understand the concept based on what's shown on the board. So what's shown in a small group or a large group, it doesn't matter. It has to be about that visual stimuli of you see a picture and it resonates with the point that you're talking to. Now, this is really powerful because one, it tells the brain how it needs to be spoken to the best way. So the brain understands it first and foremost, which means they're going to remember it more. Okay? They're going to actually learn it quicker and learn it faster, which ultimately means that you are perceived to be giving more value quicker, which you are. If you can say something for 1 or 2 minutes about a single picture on the presentation and you don't have any words on the screen, then the brain understands it quicker, they absorb it quicker, they're able to apply it quicker, but you're also doing 2 things that are really, really valuable in this situation. Firstly, the brain perceives that you are a higher level of authority than what they would have without that picture. They don't lift you higher than what you are, they actually understand the level of your authority because you can actually talk to something without having to be reminded of dot points. You know what to say, when to say things, and you're able to move forward in that respect, which means it shows greater understanding, greater authority on the area that you're talking about, and that is perceived by the learner's brain that you have all of this knowledge and you know what you're doing, what you're saying, and it creates a lot more power for their brain to learn it and understand it and accept what's said. And as scientists in the health industry, we quite often can sit back, fold our arms and say, oh yeah, but what about, and play devil's advocate. So what it does do, it takes that brain away from saying, no, hang on, that's not right, or how can I disprove that, or how can I be a little bit disgruntled and ignorant and try and say no to something, but instead be more accepting. And that's how your brain does it. So by doing that and putting a picture up or putting a simple model up and talking to it, it shows your area of expertise, your authority, it shows confidence in what you're doing, and it makes their brain understand that this is right and accept it quicker and easily. So as a net result, they can move forward, get more value, more power, and hey, you're doing a better job because you get better results with the client in that situation. Secondly, what it also does is it also enables you to talk to that point based on stories. Now, I'm not talking about stories like Once Upon a Time, but what I am saying is that we know the value of telling stories and attributing storytelling to the learning avenue. So, hey, you know what? I started this podcast with a bit of a story related back to us sitting at school or at uni and learning death by PowerPoint, falling asleep in lectures, having, like 1,000 words on a page and just learning and rote learning. And I talked about the academic side of things. And right, that is a storytelling avenue. It creates relevance. It made your brain sit there and go, yeah, that's right. Actually, that is completely right. Yeah, no, I've had that. Oh, I remember that lecturer, that blah, blah. And you get commonality. And by having that commonality and understanding it, your brain has now actually shown an understanding, a greater level of understanding for what I'm saying right now about death by PowerPoint and how presenting with words isn't the most powerful thing you can do. So that means you're now more invested into it. You understand it better, your brain agrees with what I'm saying, and you have a better level of cognitive appreciation and understanding, which is fantastic because you've now taken more benefit from this quicker, more value, and as a net result, you're going to get more from this, make smarter choices, and be able to move forward as a net result. So I've been able to achieve much more by creating a visual stimuli without having words and just using the same storytelling capabilities. So if you're in a position where you're presenting, whether it's a small group, whether it's just working with your team, it might be a team of three other allied health professionals in your team. Maybe you're working with 10 or 20 people. Maybe you're doing a big presentation to a university for their graduates that are coming out next year. Maybe it's a corporate company that you're trying to pitch something at. Maybe you're in a scenario where you're working with sporting groups, or it's an oncology support group or a diabetes support group or something like that. Don't use words. All right, I'm not saying you can't put 2 or 3 words on a slide, that's fine. But just first thing, don't do death by PowerPoint. Secondly, get away from words as much as you possibly can and put pictures up. Pictures that are relevant to what you need to talk about. It's going to show greater authority, greater experience of what you're doing. It's going to lift their heightened understanding of who you are and what you do and the power in which you speak, which is great for them because they're going to learn more, they're going to have more perceived value, and as a net result, you're going to be able to actually get more benefit to them moving forward. And overall, that is super powerful. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is storytelling. It forces you to talk to the slide. Maybe it's a personal picture. Maybe it's something that is of your team or of the relevant point. It doesn't have to be. It's the fact that by using those visual stimuli, it works really powerfully. And if you have a model that you want to teach with, maybe there's 3 points. Rather than putting a dot point and the 3 points listed or saying the 3 things are, why not draw a triangle and have one key word on each aspect of the triangle? That then now creates a model. It creates an understanding that the brain will always link back to. Remember when, that's right, they said that those 3 things. Remember when he drew that triangle and he said this, this, and this. So using models is very, very powerful as well in this scenario, but it works from the same concept. Images, models, keep it simple, keep the words out of the equation as much as possible, and you'll have greater authority, greater strength in what you're saying, better uptake of the learning environment, people will understand it better, they'll learn it, they'll do it, and your value will be heightened as a net result. That's why PowerPoint isn't the best way to go for presentations. Pictures, 92% of our education and understanding comes through that visual stimuli. So capitalize on that. Use pictures, use stories, use models, because that's how you're going to get people learning, listening, understanding, appreciating you, and learning and moving forward from there. Guys, go out and have a great day. Use pictures, use models, get away from the words. Don't allow PowerPoint to kill the learning experience. I'll talk to you guys soon. Cheers. All right, that'll do. Cheers.